I never thought I'd hire someone to pretend to be my boyfriend. But when my sister called begging me to bring a +1 to her wedding, I panicked. Who needs that kind of scrutiny from family? Not me. So naturally, I did what any rational adult would do. I posted an ad online. Professional boyfriend for rent. Must be handsome, charming, and able to survive family interrogations. I thought it was harmless. Enter Ethan Blackwood. He showed up at my apartment the next day like a hero in a tailored suit, holding a bouquet of flowers as if this were a rom-com audition. "I brought flowers," he said, his voice low, teasing, "for the bride-to-be's sister." I blinked. I didn't expect. He winked. "Relax, I'm your boyfriend for the weekend. Consider me your armor." "Right, armor," I muttered, rolling my eyes but secretly relieved. The family swarm was immediate. Aunt June swooped in, grabbing Ethan's hand as if she had the authority to approve or reject him. "Oh, what a charming young man. Tell me, how did you meet my niece?" Ethan glanced at me, eyebrow raised. "We met in a very dramatic way." "Dramatic?" Aunt June leaned in. I groaned inwardly, but Ethan smoothly took over, spinning some harmless, flirty story about a coffee shop mishap and destiny. My family bought it instantly. Even my mom nodded, clearly impressed. We laughed quietly during the ceremony, whispered jokes during the reception, and danced just enough to convince everyone we were an actual couple. I kept thinking, this isn't real. I'm not falling for him, right? But when he leaned close during the father-daughter dance, murmuring, "You're doing amazing, by the way," I felt something stir, a flutter that wasn't part of the plan. Monday arrived like a bucket of ice water. I had barely finished my coffee when HR informed me about the department transfer. "You'll be reporting directly to the new CEO," she said, trying not to smirk. "New CEO," my stomach flipped. I nodded politely, pretending I wasn't already panicking. I walked into the sleek, glass-walled office, heart-hammering, and froze. He was there. Ethan. Same grin, same infuriating charm, only now in a CEO-sized suit that made him look untouchable. And he froze, too. Then his laugh rang out, warm and amused, echoing in the office. "Fancy seeing you here," he said, leaning against the desk casually. "You look just as surprised as I am." I cleared my throat, trying to regain control. "Wait, you're the CEO." He tilted his head, eyes glinting with mischief. "Yes. That's why I agreed to be your fake boyfriend for a wedding, apparently." I blinked. "Wait, what? That doesn't make sense. CEOs don't just..." He laughed again, the sound low and teasing. So you're mad at me for being charming and professional. I'm hurt." I crossed my arms, trying to act stern, but he just smiled that smug grin that made my knees want to revolt. "Explain to me why your jaw is dropping, and maybe I'll forgive your family's insults at the wedding." Never mind," I stammered, flustered. "Just work." He leaned in slightly, voice dropping. "Careful, work might get dangerous when you're this distracted." HR, sitting awkwardly nearby, tried not to eavesdrop. I mentally cursed every life choice that led to this moment. 1 week, 1 fake boyfriend, and now my CEO was also the man I had kissed at a wedding. Monday had officially become a battlefield. I sat at my new desk, trying to convince myself that Monday had been a weird fluke. But no. There he was, Ethan, walking past my cubicle, eyes flicking to mine with that maddening grin. "Settling in?" he asked casually, leaning against the corner of my desk as if he owned the place, which technically he did. "Why, yeah," I stammered, trying to type, hoping my trembling fingers weren't obvious. He chuckled, low and amused. "Careful, you're typing like someone who's seen a ghost, or maybe a former fake boyfriend." I almost dropped my pen. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Oh, come on," he teased, stepping closer. "We danced. You laughed at my jokes. You even pretended to be mine for a weekend. Don't act like you don't remember." I bit my lip. That was different, totally different, and professional boundaries. "Professional boundaries?" He raised an eyebrow, his grin widening. "You mean like the ones we're testing right now?" I tried to focus on my work, but every glance his way made my chest tighten. The way he leaned casually, the way his eyes seemed to sparkle with amusement, it was impossible not to notice. Just then, HR walked by and nearly gasped. I glanced at her, but she quickly looked away, muttering something about office drama. I groaned internally. She'd definitely spill this story eventually. Ethan smirked at my reaction. You know, I think we make a great team already. Tension, subtle teasing, mutual distraction, it's practically chemistry 101. I glared, but there was no stopping the small blush that crept up my neck. You're impossible. And yet, he said, leaning even closer, voice dropping so only I could hear, you can't stop thinking about me, can you? I snapped back to reality, focusing on my keyboard like it could save me. But deep down, I knew the game had officially begun. Work had just become a lot more dangerous. Tuesday morning started innocently enough until the printer jammed. I muttered under my breath, glaring at the machine like it had personally betrayed me. Then I felt it, a shadow behind me. Need some help. Ethan's voice was smooth, teasing, and dangerously close. I spun around, flustered, trying to appear calm. Got it. He leaned over my shoulder, his hand brushing against mine as he reached for the printer lever. My heart did something unprofessional. Accidentally helpful, are we? I teased, though my voice wobbled. Oh, don't act like you're not enjoying this, he murmured, his breath dangerously close to my ear. Before I could respond, HR walked past, stopping mid-step, eyes widening like she'd just witnessed a scandal. My face heated instantly. Ethan straightened, grinning innocently. Just helping with the printer, of course, he said, voice loud enough for HR to hear. HR cleared her throat and moved on, muttering something about office romances. I glared at Ethan, but he only chuckled, leaning in just slightly. See, nothing inappropriate, just teamwork. Teamwork, I repeated through gritted teeth, trying not to notice the way he lingered just a little too close. Right. He smirked, brushing past me as he walked away, whispering, Don't pretend you didn't like it. I sat down, face burning, heart racing, and realized with a sinking thrill. This was going to be the longest transfer ever. The weekly department meeting was supposed to be boring. Charts, KPIs, budget updates, the usual. I walked in early, notebook ready, praying for a drama-free hour. Then Ethan walked in, of course. The room seemed to shrink the second he entered, his presence commanding attention like he was born for it. Good morning, everyone, he said smoothly, eyes scanning the room. And then they landed on me, that grin again just for me. I felt my stomach do a somersault. Focus, focus. The meeting began and Ethan took the lead. He discussed numbers, strategies, and deadlines, but somehow every so often his eyes flicked to me, a teasing sparkle in them. I shifted in my seat, trying to act professional, but my notebook now had more doodles than notes. Finally, a slide malfunctioned. I cursed it under my breath, and before I could reach for it, he leaned over, whispering just loud enough for me to hear, Need a hand, or should I let you struggle a little? I shot him a glare, trying to keep my voice steady. I can handle it. Of course you can, he said, voice dripping with amusement. But seeing you flustered is incredibly entertaining. I bit back a retort, cheeks heating and focused on the slide. But then he did it again, lightly brushing my arm as he passed a handout, and I nearly dropped it. My heart betrayed me, racing like a drumline. Are you okay? He asked, eyes pretending concern but twinkling with mischief. Yes, fine. I snapped a little too quickly, wishing the floor would swallow me whole. He smirked, clearly enjoying the chaos he caused. Just remember, he said softly, leaning close enough that I could feel his cologne, I'm here watching, carefully, very carefully. I swallowed hard, my mind screaming at me to stay professional, but my body clearly had other plans. This wasn't just a meeting anymore. It was a game of control, teasing, and dangerously undeniable attraction. As the meeting wrapped up, I realized something terrifying. This wasn't going to be a normal transfer. It was going to be a battlefield, and I was losing. Thank you for coming, Ethan said, holding the door open for me. His usual calm, confident demeanor made me want to roll my eyes and secretly melt. "It's no problem," I muttered, fumbling with my purse. The restaurant was upscale but quiet, perfect for business conversations. Or so I hoped. We sat across from each other, menus open, though neither of us really looked at them. The air between us buzzed with something unspoken, a mix of amusement, familiarity, and tension. "So," he started, leaning back, hands casually on the table, "how's your first week under my expert leadership?" I rolled my eyes. Challenging and exhausting, but I'm surviving. "Good to hear," he said, smirking. "Wouldn't want my new employee collapsing on my watch, though I admit watching you flustered has been entertaining." I nearly choked on my water. "Ethan." He laughed softly, leaning in slightly. "Relax, I'm just stating facts." The waiter interrupted, and while Ethan placed the order with charm and ease, I found myself stealing glances at him. Every time he smiled, like he knew exactly what effect he had on me, I had to remind myself, he's the CEO, he's untouchable, this is work. Halfway through dinner, he leaned in just enough that our knees brushed under the table. I stiffened. "You're tense," he whispered, voice low and teasing. "Should I help you relax?" I cut myself off, blinking rapidly. "No, I'm fine." He smirked as if he knew the lie. "Sure you are." By the time dessert arrived, I realized with a mixture of dread and thrill that this was no ordinary work dinner. Every glance, every touch, every tease was carefully calibrated to make my heart race, and somehow make me forget that we were supposed to be professional. When the evening ended and he walked me to my car, he grinned that infuriating grin again. "See you Monday." I swallowed hard, nodding. "Monday." He paused, hand brushing mine as he handed me my coat. "Try not to forget this weekend, will you?" I blinked, unsure whether to be scandalized or thrilled. Of course not." He laughed softly, leaning in just slightly closer than necessary, and whispered, "Good, because I won't be forgetting it either." As I drove home, my mind raced. One weekend, one fake boyfriend, one CEO, and now I couldn't stop thinking about him. Monday morning should have been simple. Coffee, emails, meetings, normal life. Except it was. Ethan walked past my desk like a force of nature, perfectly pressed suit, confident stride, and that grin. The one that reminded me of the wedding, the work dinner, and every inappropriate thought I'd been trying to suppress. "Morning," he said casually, stopping just short of my cubicle. His voice dropped slightly, low and teasing. "Sleep well." I blinked, scrambling to act normal. Yes, great, you." "Perfect," he said smoothly, though his eyes sparkled with mischief. "Though I must say I can't help thinking about last night. Dinner, conversation, the subtle brush of hands." I choked on my coffee. Literally. HR looked over her cubicle and nearly fainted at the tension radiating from us. "Nothing happened," I said quickly, glaring at him. "Professional boundaries." "Oh, absolutely," he said, grinning like he'd just won a game. "Professional, completely in control, nothing to see here." I could feel my face heating, ears burning. Every word he spoke was perfectly crafted to tease, and somehow I wanted to melt under it. Meetings were a battlefield. Every time he asked a question, he'd lean just close enough that my pen brush against mine or our knees touched. Every glance from him had a teasing edge, and I struggled to focus on anything other than the electrifying tension between us. At lunch, he joined me at my desk. Teamwork, he called it. But when he leaned over to look at my report, his arm brushed mine again. "You're ridiculously tense," he said softly. "You need to stop pretending so hard." "I am not tense," I snapped, though the flutter in my chest betrayed me. He smirked knowingly. "Sure, keep telling yourself that, but I know better." By the end of the day, I realized two things. Ethan Blackwood was absolutely impossible. I was completely and utterly under his spell. And the worst part? He seemed to know it, and he was enjoying every second. It was mid-afternoon, and I was buried in spreadsheets, trying to pretend the world wasn't collapsing around me every time Ethan walked by. "Hey," he said, appearing at my desk like he had a sixth sense. "Do you remember that dance at the wedding?" I froze. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. "Oh, which one?" He leaned casually against the edge of my desk, that grin teasing, eyes sparkling. "You know, the one where I almost kissed you." Heat shot to my cheeks. "Almost," I sputtered. "It didn't." "Oh, come on," he interrupted, voice low and teasing so only I could hear. "We both remember. Don't pretend you don't." I glared, trying to type anything to look busy. That was different. Context, situation, fake boyfriend. He smirked knowingly, leaning a fraction closer. "Sure, fake boyfriend, except for the part where it felt very real." I swallowed hard. "It did," my voice trailed off, because the truth was he was right. It had felt real, too real. "And now," he said, voice just above a whisper, brushing his hand near mine on the keyboard, "we're coworkers, professional, totally normal, nothing inappropriate, right?" I wanted to scream, "Yes, totally normal." But my knees betrayed me, tightening as if they had a mind of their own. He straightened, giving me that infuriating grin. Good, because I'd hate for our history to interfere with productivity. I blinked at him, heart racing, palms sweaty. History. He waved a hand lazily, walking away, leaving me to wonder. Was he teasing me, or was he serious? "Whoa, watch out," he called, stepping toward me and bumping into my arm. The coffee wobbled. My heart did a synchronized flip with it. "Ah," I yelped as the cup tipped dangerously. He reacted instantly, catching it before it could spill all over my laptop. "Saved it," he said smoothly, holding the cup with one hand while casually resting the other near mine on the desk. Close enough that I could feel the heat radiating from him. "Thanks," I muttered, trying not to notice his fingers brushing mine. I almost. "You almost ruined everything," he teased, grinning. "Don't worry, I'm here to prevent disasters, professionally, of course." I opened my mouth to argue, but he leaned in just slightly, lowering his voice. "Though I have to admit it's kind of fun seeing you flustered." I glared, heat rising to my cheeks, trying not to think about how distracting he was being. "Fun? Really? You find this fun?" "Absolutely," he said, smirking. "Especially when the tension is this palpable." I quickly took a step back, grabbing my coffee and pretending to focus on my reports, while he straightened, still watching me with that teasing glint in his eyes. HR peeked around the corner, eyes wide, clearly sensing the sparks flying in what should have been a perfectly mundane coffee mishap. I groaned internally. She'd report this. She always reports everything. And as Ethan walked away, leaning back with that smug, infuriating grin, I realized the truth. Work was no longer safe. Every interaction with him was a risk, and I was hopelessly drawn to it. I stared at my computer screen, but nothing registered. Numbers, charts, emails, all blurred together. All I could think about was him. Ethan, CEO, wedding fake boyfriend. Teaser, annoying, infuriating, intoxicating, impossible. Why did he have to walk into my life like this? 1 minute, he's a charming stranger at a wedding. The next, he's running the company I work for. And somehow, somewhere along the way, he became completely unavoidable. I felt my chest tighten every time he walked past, every time his hand brushed mine, even accidentally. My heart raced at his teasing glances, at the way he leaned in just slightly closer than necessary. And yet I couldn't let myself fall. This was work, professional boundaries. I had to act normal. Pretend that the weekend, the dinner, the wedding kiss, they meant nothing. But the truth was, they did. They meant everything. I remembered the way he had held my hand just long enough at the wedding, the warmth of his breath near my ear at dinner, the teasing in the office today. And I hated that it made my knees weak. I tried to shake it off, focusing on my reports. But even my mind betrayed me, replaying little moments. His smile, his smirk, the low, teasing tone he used when whispering near me. Why did he have to be so impossible? I sighed, running my hands through my hair. I was supposed to be professional, supposed to ignore the sparks, the pull, the dangerous electricity he brought into every interaction. And yet, part of me ached for more. More attention, more teasing, more of that infuriating charm that made my heart beat faster every single time. God, I hated him, and yet I wanted him. I glanced toward the door, half expecting him to appear again, leaning against my desk with that smirk that had ruined my concentration for the entire week. Work was supposed to be safe, but with him, nothing was safe anymore. I was typing furiously, trying to finish a report when I felt it, a shadow over my desk. I glanced up. Ethan, of course. That smug grin, those teasing eyes, like he knew exactly what he was doing. "Still thinking about last weekend?" he asked, leaning casually against my desk. His tone was soft, dangerous, teasing. I froze. No," I snapped, trying to sound indignant, but my voice wobbled. He smirked, taking a small step closer. "Don't lie. I can see it in your eyes. That little blush, the way your hands are shaking, come on, you're adorable when you try to hide it." "Adorable?" I barked, standing up, letting my chair screech back. "I am not adorable." "Oh, really?" he asked, tilting his head. "Because last I checked, your face was practically glowing and your heart was racing like a drumline." I felt heat rise to my cheeks and neck, fury bubbling along with something else I refused to acknowledge. "You're impossible, you know that." "I know," he said, smiling like he had just scored a point in some cruel game. "And yet, here you are, completely distracted by me." I slammed my hands on the desk, glaring at him. "I'm not distracted. You're infuriating." He leaned in just slightly, voice low and teasing. "Good. That's exactly what I was going for." I spun back to my computer, muttering under my breath, trying to ignore the flutter in my chest and the way my knees threatened to buckle. Why did he have to be so charming, so confident, so completely impossible? Ethan chuckled softly, straightening and walking away, leaving me to stew in equal parts anger, frustration, and undeniable attraction. And as much as I hated it, I knew the truth. He had already won. The office was buzzing with the usual Monday energy, but my focus shattered the second the new hire, Vanessa, breezed past my desk. Ethan was at the printer when she sidled up, leaning in just slightly, tossing her hair over one shoulder. "Hey, Ethan," she purred, voice smooth, flirty. "Looks like you're settling in nicely here." I froze, fingers gripping my mouse. Ethan glanced at her, then at me, with that infuriatingly calm smile. "Vanessa, good morning," he said politely, though his eyes flicked toward me in a way that made my stomach twist. "Oh, don't be so formal," she said, stepping closer. "You're my boss now. I think you deserve a little appreciation. Maybe a coffee together later." I felt my jaw tight. Coffee with her, him, me, no way. I wanted to march over and announce, "Back off, he's mine." But of course I didn't. I sat frozen, watching the scene unfold. Ethan chuckled softly, clearly enjoying the attention, and maybe the tension he was creating. "Appreciation is nice," he said smoothly, "but I'm already well taken care of." I blinked, taken care of. Vanessa tilted her head, giving him a playful smirk. "Oh, by whom?" Ethan's eyes flicked to me, a teasing glint there that made my blood boil and my heart race at the same time. "By someone very memorable," he said, voice low, almost a whisper. I felt my cheeks heat instantly. My hands curled into fists on the desk. He's teasing me on purpose. Vanessa frowned slightly, catching the tension, but Ethan only smiled wider, leaning slightly toward me with just enough proximity that I could feel the heat from his presence. "Enjoy the rest of your morning," he said casually, walking away, leaving Vanessa blinking and me seething, my emotions a messy swirl of anger, jealousy, and desire. I gritted my teeth, muttering under my breath. Impossible. He is absolutely impossible. And yet, part of me couldn't stop thinking about the way he'd just claimed me without even touching me. I stormed into the empty conference room, slamming the door behind me. My chest was still racing, and my hands were trembling with equal parts anger and frustration. "What the hell was that back there?" I snapped, spinning around to face Ethan, who was casually leaning against the table, arms crossed, that infuriating smirk firmly in place. He raised an eyebrow, unbothered. "That back there, the new girl flirting with me." Yes, exactly, I shouted, throwing my hands in the air. She's trying to flirt with you and you. Wait, he interrupted, leaning in just slightly, voice low and teasing. You're jealous. I froze. I am not jealous, I insisted, though the heat creeping up my neck betrayed me. He chuckled, a soft, knowing sound that made my stomach twist. Oh, come on, you're fuming. Your fists are clenched, your cheeks are red, that's definitely jealousy. I am not fuming, I am annoyed. I threw my hands down in exasperation, my voice cracking slightly. I can't believe you're impossible. He took a step closer, lowering his voice even further so only I could hear. Impossible, he smirked, brushing a strand of hair from my face ever so slightly, sending a shiver down my spine. Maybe, but you can't stop thinking about me, can you? I swallowed hard, trying to look stern. I'm not thinking about you. His grin widened. Sure, keep telling yourself that, but don't worry, I like knowing I get under your skin. I wanted to scream. I wanted to punch him. I wanted to, and yet I couldn't deny the thrill that shot through me at the brush of his fingers near mine, at the teasing glint in his eyes. You're impossible, I muttered again, glaring fiercely at him. And yet, he whispered, leaning just slightly closer, you still can't stay away. My heart raced. My cheeks burned. And for the first time all day, I realized Ethan Blackwood wasn't just my problem at work. He was my entire disaster, and I couldn't resist him. The office was unusually quiet that afternoon. Most people had gone for meetings or lunch, leaving the floor practically empty. I was focused on some reports at my desk, trying to focus, when I felt him behind me. Busy. His voice was low, teasing, sending shivers down my spine. I jumped slightly. Yes, very busy, I said, trying to keep my tone steady. He leaned over my desk to look at the spreadsheet I was working on. Our shoulders brushed, just enough to make my skin tingle. My breath hitched. He murmured, not even looking at the report. You're very focused. I swallowed hard, trying not to look at him. Yes, focused. Then he straightened, standing impossibly close, so close I could feel his presence pressing against mine. His eyes locked on mine, teasing and intense all at once. You know, he whispered, voice low, we could make this much more interesting. I froze. My heart was pounding so loudly I was sure he could hear it. Ethan, I started, voice barely above a whisper. He smiled, leaning in slowly, eyes half-lidded, so close I could feel his breath on my face. Just a little closer, he murmured. I felt my body betray me. My knees wanted to give out. My chest tightened. I could almost let him, he murmured, voice low, teasing. You really shouldn't work this late alone. It's distracting. I blinked at him. Distracting, you're the CEO. And yet, he said, leaning just slightly closer, so the heat from him brushed against me. You're the one struggling to focus with me here. I swallowed hard. I'm not struggling. My voice cracked slightly, betraying me. He smirked knowingly. No, not at all. He leaned closer again, so close that I could feel his warm breath near my ear. Because I am struggling, trying not to do things I probably shouldn't right now. I felt my knees weaken. Ethan, I whispered, heart racing uncontrollably. He traced a finger along the edge of my notebook, deliberately brushing my hand, lingering too long, watching my reaction. You're shaking, he said softly. Do you feel that pull between us? I couldn't speak. My mouth went dry, my chest tight. My mind screamed at me to stop him, but every fiber of me wanted more. He smiled, that infuriating, teasing grin, and leaned just a fraction closer. You can deny it all you want, but I know you want this as much as I do. I swallowed hard, gripping the edge of my desk. This is wrong. Wrong, he whispered, eyes darkening with intent. Or irresistibly tempting. My breath hitched. He straightened just slightly, letting the tension hang in the air like a live wire. I could feel the heat, the electricity, the undeniable chemistry threatening to ignite. And in that moment, I realized professional boundaries were long gone, and I didn't care anymore. I need to tell you something, he continued, taking a small step closer, the office suddenly feeling impossibly small. I swallowed hard. Why you do? My voice was shaky. Yes. He stopped just short of my desk, leaning slightly so I could feel the warmth radiating from him. I've been trying to fight this, trying to be professional, trying to act like nothing happened over the weekend, the dinner, the flirtation. His voice dropped lower, almost a whisper. But I can't. I can't stop thinking about you. I can't stop wanting you. And I don't want to anymore. My chest tightened. My mind screamed at me to stay professional, but my heart was betraying me. You want me, I whispered, barely daring to hope. He took a slow, deliberate step closer. Yes, he said, voice low, full of conviction. I want you, not just as my employee, not just as my fake girlfriend at a wedding, I want you, all of you. My breath hitched, my knees nearly giving out. I had never expected him to say it, not in a million years. And, he added, leaning just slightly closer, lips dangerously near mine, I'm done pretending. I don't care about boundaries anymore. I like you, a lot, more than I probably should, but I don't care, I want you, right here, right now. I felt my heart race, my body heat up, every rational thought fleeing. The tension, the teasing, the danger of wanting him, all of it came crashing down at once. I like you too, I admitted, voice trembling, eyes locking on his. Good, because I've been waiting to hear that for a long time. I've wanted this, he whispered, voice low and deliberate, brushing a strand of hair from my face, for a long time. Before I could respond, before I could find the words to tell him me too, he leaned in. Slowly, temptingly. My breath hitched as our lips met, soft at first, testing, exploring. I froze for a heartbeat, heart hammering in my chest, and then surrendered to the warmth and heat, to the way his hands cupped my face, tilting me gently, pulling me closer. The kiss deepened, teasing and demanding all at once. His tongue brushed mine, just enough to ignite a fire I hadn't known could exist in an office, in a world where professional boundaries had crumbled with a single touch. I clutched at his shoulders, pulling him closer, feeling the press of his body against mine, the undeniable tension we'd been dancing around all week now exploding in sparks that left me trembling, breathless. I smiled, leaning against him, letting the office fade around us. The emails, the meetings, the spreadsheets, they didn't matter anymore. All that mattered was him, the warmth of his hands, the fire of his lips, the impossibility of how perfect this felt. For the first time in a long time, I didn't care about rules or boundaries or pretending. I had him, and he had me. And maybe, just maybe, this was the beginning of everything I had never known I wanted.